Another episode of Max and Ben Talk Hockey. Obviously, I'm Ben and Max. Yeah. And today we're not going to be doing an interview. We will be starting a series, which we have not titled yet, by the way. But it's going to be along the lines of the draft. So as you know, the NHL draft, the 2020 NHL draft happened in October. And although this is December, we've had a look at what some of the prospects have been doing and how they've been keeping up in either the offseason or in the 2021 or 2020-2021 season. And we will be going in teams of three in the NHL in alphabetical order. And we will be talking about who they drafted. I will be talking about stats that they've had from past years and quotes from the Elite Prospects 2020 NHL Draft Guide. And Max will be talking about potential and where they could be in a few years, either in the NHL or they won't make it to the NHL or wherever. So, as usual, please subscribe and hit the like button. It would be great if you do. And comment on your potentials for these players if you know any of them. Especially for the first round picks, because everyone knows the first round picks. But draft nuts like Max and I actually care about everyone past like the 10th overall pick. So this is why we're doing this, just to educate you guys also. So without further ado, we are going to start with the Anaheim Ducks, followed by the Arizona Coyotes, and wrapping it up with the Boston Bruins for this video. Today we will start with Jamie Drysdale. By the way, I forgot to mention we're going in order of rounds, so first round goes first, seventh round is last. So anyway, Jamie Drysdale, he was selected 6th overall by the Anaheim Ducks. He was born in Toronto, Canada. He is 5'11" and 170 pounds, so he is on the lighter side. And he is tall. And the thing, he's 18. He's born April 8th, 2002. And the thing with these prospects is height might not grow. Weight he will get heavier, whether it's fat or muscle. It's one of the two guarantees in life. You will get heavier. He will reach a cap of I don't know, I don't like guessing, but around 200, I'm going to say. He played on the Erie Otters of the OHL, and if you're thinking Erie Otters, Ontario Hockey League, yeah, they have teams in the U.S. That's the one in Pennsylvania. He played on the Toronto Marlboros AAA team. He was the captain, 50 points in 57 games as a defenseman. That's great. Plays one game in the Ontario Junior Hockey League. That's Junior A, and says nope, going to the Erie Otters of the OHL, where he tore it up in his rookie season. 40 points in 63 games, 7 goals, 33 assists. He got 20 PIMs, which isn't that bad. Plus minus, I'm not going to harp on plus minus too much. It just shows the overall aspect of your team. And it's like a crap stat anyway. But he was a minus 24, so the Otters were not good at all. He played in the World Juniors, and he was captain of Canada Black's team at the World Hockey Cup, I think, the WHC 17, whichever tournament that was. In that tournament, he had 4 assists, no goals, 4 points in 5 games. And in the U18 in the World Juniors, he had two assists, 0 goals in 7 games. And in this past 1920 season, as an assistant captain of the Erie Otters, by the way, he had 47 points, 9 goals, 38 assists in 49 games. He had 24 penalty minutes, so a bit up, and a 9 in plus minus. In the World Juniors this season with the U20, he had 3 points, 1 goal, 2 assists in 7 games, with a +3 on his plus minus. Next season, he will be playing in the OHL, from what we know. He is continuing to be the assistant captain, and he is penciled on the roster for Canada's World Junior team that is coming up in a few weeks, so look out for him. From the draft guide, the Elite Prospect says he's a brilliant skater capable of quarterbacking a power play with ease and generating results both ways through the neutral zone. More of a playmaker than a shooter. Drysdale's adaptable first and foremost. He's going to make the best decisions regardless, no matter the situation. He's the only defenseman in this year's draft with clear number one defenseman upside. So, Max, what do you take from this, and what do you think this will translate to in the coming years as he progresses into going into the NHL?
Yeah, as you said, his plus minus wasn't his greatest stat, but he's a very strong puck mover as a defenseman, and he's a very deceptive skater. He's a high-end goal scorer for sure. And yeah, if I had to compare if I had to compare Drysdale to a player in the NHL right now, I definitely do Kel McCarr. They have very, very similar like qualities. I think Anaheim got the best defenseman in the draft. You know, he's gonna make the NHL for sure. I don't think he should go right into the NHL. I think he should play, you know, maybe half a season, a quarter of a season to really get and feel what the NHL is like. Again, he's coming from not the best team with the Otters. So if they slowly introduce him into the NHL, I think that'll give him a best, you know, introduction to the NHL. In terms of potential, I think he'll be a top four defenseman without a doubt for the Ducks. And hopefully along his career, but maybe 5 years in, I think he'll be a top 10 defenseman in the NHL. Again, really great player in the offensive zone. You won't miss him for sure. And special teams, you'll see him on the special teams especially. And for a team like Anaheim, with a great goaltender, John Gibson, you put Drysdale in front of him. This could easily be one of the best defensive teams in a couple of years.
Yeah, I totally agree. And also, when you look at the current roster of the Anaheim Ducks, I don't have that pulled up right now, but their decor is good, not great. While I research it, I'm just gonna look it up I'm just gonna like read names off the top of my head. So you got Cam Fowler, you got Josh Manson, you got Kevin Shattenkirk, who they just signed. You got a couple other people, but not much else. So you got Cody Curran, never heard of him. You have Michael Del Zotto, he's 29. He was okay for a few seasons. You have Christian Juice, Cam Fowler, like I said. Eric Goodbranson, he just brings a bunch of punch. Yanni Hakanpää. Sure, okay. I've never heard of him, but hope he pans out. Matt Irwin, Jacob Larson, Hampus Lindholm, Josh Manson, and that's basically it. So from what I just read, Drysdale in a few years could be better than all of them, for sure. And I'm hoping that will happen because honestly, going 6th overall for him is a steal. It has to be. Switching gears now, the next pick, 27th overall, the Anaheim Ducks select Jacob Perreault. He's 18, born April 15th, 2002. So actually 7 days after Drysdale, which is kind of funny. He was born in Montreal in Canada. He is 5'11" and 192. That's a meaty guy. He shoots right, which is very interesting. Although he's not a defenseman, he's a right wing or a center. Right-handed defensemen are kind of a necessity nowadays in the NHL. And for some reason, Elite Prospects has him as playing for the Chicago Mission, which is very interesting because he could have moved to Chicago for all I know. But like if you were to go to Chicago just to play hockey from Montreal, that would be a bit odd. But in 14U AAA, he had 22 points in 20 games, 15 goals, 7 assists. In 16U, the next season, he had 25 points in 20 games, 14 goals, 11 assists. Moved that scoring ability to the OHL with the Sarnia Sting. In 63 games, he had 30 goals, 25 assists, 55 points with 54 penalty minutes. He takes a lot of penalty minutes. And 1 plus minus. In Canada, Red U17 in the WHC 17 tournament, he had 2 goals, 0 assists, 6 penalty minutes, 2 points in 6 games played. And this past season, he had 70 points in 57 games. That's 39 goals and 31 assists. He had 40 penalty minutes, which is honestly a lot. but he was a minus 34, which is not the best stat at all. And yeah, that's basically all we could find of him. The quote that I found is, Perot is a pure sniper with one of the best shots in this draft class. It's accurate, hard, and he can score from anywhere. His ability to catch and shoot pucks in stride when the passes aren't in the wheelhouse is a transferable skill that will serve him well. His father, Yannick Perot, I believe, played games in the NHL, I want to say. I believe he was drafted by the Maple Leafs. But anyway, he seems like one of those sniper type players. Personally, if I had to compare him to anyone, I'd compare him to more of an Austin Matthews, or I mean, I can't do this long shot, but Alexander Ovechkin, sort of, just because he can score. And he said an elite prospect said he's a pure sniper. That seems like Ovechkin. So Max, where do you think he's going to be in a few years?
All right. I really like this pick. I was a little bit on the fence with Drysdale. Anaheim. Picking picking him up with a guy like Zegras, who they've already drafted in the past. I think this looks really good on them. He's a pure goal scorer, as you said. If I had to compare him to a player, I'd be more like David Pastrnak. You don't look at Pastrnak and you're like, oh, he's a great playmaker. You're like, Pastrnak, he's got an unbelievable release. And you said Matthews and Ovechkin. I also agree with that. It's not a playmaker like Bergeron or Marchand. He's a sniper. He's got a crazy release. Again, one of the best in the draft class. Again, pure goal scorer. I really like this pick for Anaheim, especially after they picked a surprising defenseman with their 6th overall pick. He's a little bit of a one-dimensional player, as he is a sniper, but you kind of need a one-dimensional player in your team, and I really like this pick. In terms of potential, again, I don't see him coming to the NHL right away. But specifically, I think I'll call him a top 6 forward in the future.
That's nice. That's actually I like this pickup because especially when you pair him with Zegras, one thing the Anaheim aren't is young. I'm looking at the roster right now. Andrew Agozzino, 29. David Backes, 35. Nick Delorier, 28. These are forwards, by the way, not defensemen. Ryan Getzlaf, 34. Danton Heinen, 24. Adam Henrique, 29. Max Jones, 21. And then Sonny Milano's 23. But then Ricard Raquel, 26. Carter Rowney, 30. Kiefer Sherwood, 24. Jakob Silverberg, 29. Sam Steele is 21. And Troy Terry is 22. So there is a mixture of young and old. The average age, I want to say, is around 27, 28, which is middle prime. And then as you get into 29, that's sort of becoming exiting your prime. So it's good to get some fresh blood and some new faces into the organization, especially with Drysdale also coming up through the ranks as a defenseman. Anaheim's next pick, his name is Sam Colangelo, and he went 36th overall in 2020 to the Anaheim Ducks. He was from Stoneham, Massachusetts. He was born December 26, 2001. He's a right winger and a center. He's 6'2" and 205 pounds. He's big. And he played in the Chicago Steel, and we know that team because Max and I have interviewed 2 players, Sean Farrell, who is, I believe, the 4th highest scorer in the USHL, and Matt Coronado, who is the highest, or who's the leading scorer in the USHL. So I will link the videos both those videos at the end if you feel like watching them. And please do. They're really good. There's some of our favorite interviews. But anyway, he played with the Boston Junior Bruins AAA team. In 16U, he played in 29 games, 8 goals, 12 assists, 20 points. And he also played in a different league with the same team for 12 games and had 5 points, 3 goals, 2 assists. He moved that into a prep school called Lawrence Academy in 27 games, 2 goals, 12 assists, 14 points. And then he played for the NV River Rats, 16U. I don't know what MV stands for, but he in 13 games, he had 9 goals, 7 assists, 16 points. Back at Lawrence Academy, in 29 games, he had 13 goals, 29 assists, so an assist per game for 42 points, sorry. And then with the Little Bruins 18U team, in 7 games, he had 6 points. Then he played with the Boston Junior Bruins in this league called the NCDC. 3 games, Goose Eggs, 0 points, 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 points. And then in U18, again with the Boston Little Bruins, in 9 games, he had 8 points, 7 goals, 1 assist. For the Chicago Steel, he was there for 11 games, 3 goals, not bad, and 4 penalty minutes. Back at Lawrence Academy, he had in 28 games, he had 19 goals and 29 assists for 48 points, 36 penalty minutes. And with the Chicago Steel this past year in 44 games, he had 28 goals, 30 assists for 58 points in 47 penalty minutes. And although, again, plus minus isn't the best stat, but he was a plus 32 with the Chicago Steel, who, apart from like the USNDP, are the best program by far in the USHL. They are ridiculous at finding talent. And they were like 41-7. They were practically unbeatable. And they still are. Like they're disgusting. He committed to Northeastern University for this year, whenever this year will be, and he's penciled onto the USA's U20 World Junior roster. So really exciting to see what he can bring to this tournament that's coming in a few years. So Max, your take on him, and where can he fit in the Ducks lineup in a few years?
In terms of the Ducks picks this year, this is my favorite one. The right wing spot right now for the Ducks, very limited. They got Silverberg, Terry, and Sherwood. And Sherwood isn't even a third liner. I think he's a fourth liner, and possibly a scratch on some teams. I really like this pick for them. Although he is committing to Northeastern University, which means he'll be there for 4 years, I think he'll come back a much stronger player. And this brings a lot of things to the Ducks. You get size, aggressiveness, and defensive excellence. A comparable player for him would be Josh Anderson of the Montreal Canadiens. Great on both sides of the ice. He put up a lot of points this season, so he's inclined offensively and defensively. It'll be interesting to see if he can continue as he enters the pros with those stats. Excellent puck skills, shooting, protection, handling. He has tools that every team would like. In terms of potential, after he comes back right now, I don't think he's ready to make an NHL lineup, but after he comes back from Northeastern University, if he can continue his offensive talent there and defensive talent, top 9 forward, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good take, especially like I've been saying, the Ducks, they're not exactly that young, and they have so many young forwards coming through their in their prospect pool. So it's exciting to see. I think the Ducks are going to be great in a few years. A quote from Elite Prospects is, "He's a smart player and finds his teammates in areas with enough space for them to make plays. It's Colangelo's vision that serves him best of all his tools in the offensive zone. His defensive play is among the strongest on his team, and he effectively uses his 6'2", 205-pound frame to rub guys off the puck." So he is physical. Obviously, he had 58 penalty minutes in 44 games, and I'm actually excited to see this. If I had to draw any comparisons, he could be like a Todd Bertuzzi, so like a grinder or a power forward. Not really a grinder because they don't really get that many points. But a power forward gets points by basically being the grease police, and just parking yourself in front of your net or in front of the other team's net and banging in all the greasy goals that you can find. If I had to compare him to someone now, Andreas Janssen, who was just traded from the Maple Leafs to the New Jersey Devils in exchange for Joey Anderson. Janssen is around the same frame. He's a bit tall. I'm pretty sure he's shorter than Colangelo, but he's still pretty tall, and he's strong. And he had 20 goals. He was the 20-goal scorer in the 18-19 campaign. for the Leafs, and a lot of his goals were just inside the slot, so like between the slot and the crease. That was his department. He had a couple hits, and he was really good. So I hope Colangelo can be the same as that. The issue is that Janssen was a 7th-round pick and Colangelo was a second, but hopefully they can be the same. Ian Moore is the next prospect, a defenseman who shoots right. That's a rarity among most NHL teams. Not many right shot D. He's 6'2" and 172 pounds, so he's a bit on the lighter side in terms of weight. He's born in Salt Lake City, Utah, and he was born January 4th, 2002. He played for the Cape Cod Whalers 16U AAA team, 8 games, 5 points. St. Mark's School and U.S. High School Prep, 21 games, 1 goal, 13 assists for 14 points. Keep in mind he's a defenseman, so if there are low goal numbers, that's why. Again, St. Mark's School in the 18-19 campaign, 36 points, 31 games, 16 goals. Wow, he scores a lot, actually. That's actually really surprising, and 20 assists. For the Boston Little Bruins, 18U AAA team, 10 games, 11 points, 6 goals, 5 assists. And then he played for the Junior Bruins for 2 games, USNDP for 1 game, had nothing in them, goose eggs all around. Back at St. Mark's School, 2019-2020, the assistant captain, by the way, this year. 28 games, 12 goals, 34 assists for 46 points, and that landed him in the 3rd round. He is committed to Harvard University for the 2021-22 season, and this season in 3 games with the Chicago Steel of the USHL, 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 points, 0 penalty minutes for and a -2 and plus-minus. Well, coming from high school into the USHL, it's not exactly easy. I think the best route that most people recommend is AAA until I believe 16U. Then you play in the NAHL, which is 1 tier below the USHL. You play there for 1 year, and then you make a move to the USHL, where you can play for a few years, just so that you can be more so that you can be more acclimated to the compete style. So if he has 0 points in 3 games, that's perfectly normal. Also, he's a defenseman. Points aren't exactly a thing that he's supposed to be generating. Quote is, Moore is a gifted skater for a 6'3" defenseman and is a confident puck carrier. His ability to create speed through the neutral zone is so impressive. He can play an aggressive gap due to mobility, and rush threats are mitigated by his pressure. Moore also has a hard and accurate slap shot. He drops to 1 knee and generates a ton of flex on his shot. And Max, what do you think of him? And where do you think he can be in a few years?
Yeah, you pretty much hit all the boxes there. Great slap shot. Most reports you'll see will talk about his slap shot and his skating. His stride specifically is exceptional. It's a little bit of a risk-adjusted guy coming out of high school, especially one that wants to go into college, because you're not going to hear about him for 4 years. When he comes back, I think third pair defenseman in the league in the NHL is where I'd put him. On the lower side, at the absolute lowest, I think he'll be a top pair in the AHL, and at the absolute highest, maybe second line power play. That big slap shot. That's what you want. When you think of slap shot and a guy that goes down to 1 knee, that raises a lot of eyes for NHL defensemen right now. More and more you're seeing players, go down and get all that momentum and force on that 1 knee. Patrick Kane, Alexander Ovechkin, put them on D and make them 6'3", and you get him. I do like this pick. It is a little bit risky, but when he comes back, Harvard, that's a big college to go to. So when he comes back, I think he'll have a chance of making the NHL.
Yeah, I agree. And also, when you look at the Ducks' current roster, there aren't that many right shot D. The only glaring people that you see are Eric Goodbranson and Josh Manson. That's literally it. They're both 28. They have a few years left in them, and that's basically it. They have a few good years left in them, and that's basically it. They've hit their ceiling, and uh, I don't think they're gonna get any better or get any worse. They're probably gonna get worse because time is linear. So definitely having Ian Moore there as a right shot D is valuable. Another right shot D, fourth round, 104th overall, Themo Nickel. I'm going to pronounce it like that. Out of Klagenfurt, Austria. Nice. He's 8 on December 4th, 2001. 6'2", 176, so that's semi-average. He played for his hometown team ever since he was a kid. Put up 19 points in 21 games in the U18, and then as a 17-year-old. And then when he was 18, he had 6 goals, 10 assists for 16 points in 19 games. And then he played in the Austrian professional league. As an 18-year-old, he had 1 goal in 25 games. So don't take it the wrong way. It's probably hard to play in a professional men's league as an 18-year-old. There's a reason Jack Hughes didn't do that well this season. He played in the World Juniors for the U18 and the U20 teams. For the U18, he played 5 games for both teams, and in U18 he had 1 assist, 0 goals, and in U20 he had 0 goals, 0 assists. And then back at Klagenfurter AC, which is the junior team, his youth team that he's been playing with, in 1 game he had 2 assists. And then he played in the Professional Alps League again in 2018-2019 and had 15 points in 24 games, 2 goals, 13 assists. That's perfectly fine. Then he was the captain of the World Junior team of Austria's U18. 5 games, 9 points, 1 goal, 8 assists. 20 penalty minutes, actually. He takes a lot of pins. In the U20, he still had goose eggs, 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 points in 5 games. And then he took that talent and went all the way to Drummondville of the QMJHL to play for 1 season, 58 games, 10 goals, 29 assists, 39 points, 43 PIMs, and a -7 in plus-minus. Again, in the World Juniors, he had 3 assists and 0 goals in 5 games for the U20 team. And this year, he has currently been playing for Rogel BK of the J20 Swedish team, so I'm assuming that's like Swedish juniors. 9 games, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points, 16 penalty minutes, and a +1. He's also going to be representing Austria for the World Juniors for the 4th straight season, so exciting to see how he's going to be. A quote about him is, Nickel is a more confident defender in this latter half of the season. He uses his tools, reach, size, and switches to his assignments in a more fluid way. Nickel's biggest potential is as a rush defenseman. He skates smoothly, closes his gap appropriately, and can match weaving forwards easily. His long stick also helps him direct traffic and break plays. Max, your thoughts, and what do you think of him?
As you said, he can carry the puck, create plays. He's got a long stick, a long reach. He reminds me a lot of Shea Weber. He's very good on special teams. You see Shea Weber on the power play and penalty kill in Montreal. He really looks like a Shea Weber for me. Tall Ray Henderson. He's gonna make a big showing for himself. And it's a little bit early to say this, and we'll see how he is down the road. But I think his game could easily translate into the pros, and there's an opportunity he'll show himself as a steal. I honestly like Nickel better than Moore. I like this pick better than picking Moore. And I said Moore can be a third pair defenseman. I think Nickel will be a second pair defenseman. Again, I think he'll find himself in the special teams for sure. I don't think he'll be an AHL defenseman. I think he'll be an NHL defenseman. We'll see. He could easily be a steal in my opinion, and we'll see how he does.
Yeah, I agree totally. He can definitely be good. Now in the 5th round, 129th overall, the Ducks selected Artyom Galimov out of Russia. He's from Samara. He's 21, actually, born in 1999. 5'11", 176, so he's not going to grow that much, but he will get heavier. I think he's 21, though. He plays currently for Akbars Kazan of the KHL, which is hard to do as a young player, even though he's 21. It's still really hard to play in the KHL. And the thing is, he was really good, but we have to go back to the 16-17 season. One thing you should know about Russia, there are 3 leagues that we'll be talking about. There's the MHL, that's sort of Russia juniors, the VHL, the AHL to the NH or the AHL to the KHL. So the KHL's minors and the KHL, that's the majors. So in the MHL he played with Irbis Kazan. In the VHL he played with Bars Kazan, and then the KHL he played with Akbars Kazan. With Irbis Kazan of the MHL in 2016-17, 48 games, 10 points. He's either center or a left wing. So 5 goals, 5 assists. With Bars Kazan of the VHL in 2017-18, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points, 28 games. And then back with Irbis, 27 points in 32 games, 9 goals, 18 assists. He made his KHL debut in 2018-2019, one game and nothing in it. Back in the VHL, in 40 games, he had 9 goals, 15 assists for 24 points. And with Irbis Kazan, he had in 5 games, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. In the World Juniors with Russia with the Russia U20 team, in 7 games he had 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. And in all Russia U20 tournaments, in 19 games he had 2 goals, 5 assists for 7 points. And this past season in 1920 with Akbars Kazan full time, 55 games, 10 assists, 13 goals. For 23 points, 10 penalty minutes, and a -5 and plus-minus. In all international tournaments, he had 7 games and 2 assists, 0 goals. And this current season, 20 games, 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points, 6 penalty minutes, and a +4. Elite Prospect says, Galimov seemed to always know the next option when he received the puck this game, which helps him create quicker and cleaner transitions. When Galimov's defensive assignments are clear, he can stick to his check and deny passes coming to him. So this is now in terms of depth. So does he have a ceiling? Will he reach it? Can he make the NHL, or is he just what he is and you think he's going to stick in the K?
Yeah, so he's still currently under contract in the KHL, so he's got a little bit longer there. And as you said, he was drafted at 21, which is a little bit unusual. But when you look at it, so was Brendan Montour. And he's had so far a pretty good career with the Ducks before being shipped out. So I am paying attention to this guy, and he reminds me of a little bit of Andre Kosh while he was on the Ducks with his motor. He's a little bit of a nuisance to goalie, so get right in front of them, screen them, give them a little whack on the pads, and try to bring them back their game. And usually you don't get excited about a 5th rounder, but this could easily be an exception. In terms of potential, I think he's a future 3rd liner. But I don't think he's coming to the NHL this soon. I think he'll come in maybe 4, 5, 6 years. I don't think he's going to come in at 21 on the 3rd line. Yeah, but I really like this pick for the Ducks. Your 5th rounder, pretty hard to tell for a 5th rounder, but I really like this pick. I think they probably picked the best 5th rounder that they possibly could have for their team.
Hot take. Yeah, not much to say. Depth picks are just depth picks. You never know. They might be okay. They might just be what they are. Like you're not investing in them too much. This next pick is just like his name's Albin Sundsvik. 6th round, 160th overall. By the Anaheim Ducks. He's a center, 6'2", 187, and shoots left. He's played in junior 18. He's just played in juniors. He's in the SHL currently. He has 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points in 21 games. In this past in 2019-2020, in the SHL, 38 games, 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points. He's been at the World Juniors, goose eggs all around, nothing terribly interesting there. He's been in like other international tournaments, but he hasn't done that well. Personally, I just don't think he's going to do that well. Elite Prospects says that I'm never going to pronounce this name. Sm-Lliga's wrist shot has a good swift release and did not have much wind-up time. He could place his shot well and gave the goaltender problems even while shooting from quite far out. In his own end, Sm-Lliga worked hard and put in the effort needed. His stick work looked good, and he could engage in physical play when he attempted to win the puck. There's not much comment to be done with 6th and 7th picks. This is going to become a theme in this series. But yeah, that's basically it. That's just his potential. I don't think he's going to do well. Max, your opinion?
Yeah, third year of SHL hockey. If he's struggling to get games in the SHL, I mean, it is the fourth best men's league. But if he's struggling to get games in the SHL, imagine how he's going to struggle to get games in the NHL. 3 years, he only got 54 games. That's definitely not a good sign. I don't know why they picked him. To be honest, I mean,
playing in the SHL, that's probably why. It's kind of hard to play as a teenager. Yeah. But when you think about it, it's like when you think about it in retrospect, it's not the hardest it's not the hardest league to make it. So I think I agree with you. I don't like that pick that much.
I mean,
yeah, that's basically it. Yeah,
they do have Gibson and Dostal already, but I would have liked to see them, take a chance on a goalie. I mean, he's playing against men, but I don't even think he's a bottom six forward. I think even AHL might be a little bit of a push. I don't like this pick at all.
Maybe ECHL, and then he might just return to Europe. This next pick, Ethan Bowen. This is like the theme with like later picks. You pick junior A that are way above a point a game because those guys can be okay. He played with Yale Hockey Academy. In U15 prep in 29 games, he had 33 goals, 29 assists for 62 points. Nice. By the way, he's from Chilliwack, British Columbia. With the Fraser Valley Thunderbirds, he had 34 points in 27 games. Went to the Chilliwack Chiefs. Isn't the best. 39 points, 58 games in 2018-19. 31 points, 41 games in 19-20. He's going to be playing in the University of North Dakota in 2 years. He's a center, 6'1", 164. Even EliteProspects.com kind of gave up on writing about him. His skating looks potentially NHL average with development. On offense, he hit closed passing lanes and barely missed the catch and release on the power play. There you go. If that's your receipts, I don't think he's going to make anything above AHL depth. What do you think?
I'm a little bit interested in this pick, to be honest. The Anaheim Ducks did trade for this pick, direct trade for this pick to select him. So I think you dig a little bit deeper to understand what they see in him. I think he should at least stick to the NCAA for he's going to stick to the NCAA for 3 to 4 years. There's an opportunity that could arise for him in the pros, but I think NHL, you're jumping the gun there. AHL, as you said, I think he could be, possibly, a top 6 the AHL. He's got pretty good IQ, but I think his chances they're pretty low, and I do like this pick more than Sm-Lliga. But for a 7th rounder, name a 7th rounder in the last 5 years that's in the NHL. Really can't.
I can't.
I'm not gonna.
Okay. Yeah. And now we're gonna do Mitchell Miller. Great.
Oh yes. A little bit controversial, eh?
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna start off like this. And
just so we all know, we're going on to the Arizona Coyotes now.
Yeah. We're moving to the Arizona Coyotes. The Anaheim Ducks had their 8 picks. There are 2 ways I can approach this. The first one is the Arizona Coyotes saw a late first, early second round pick still in the fourth round and took him. They're like, hey, we got this great player. Or they didn't know about this incident, this not even incident, this horrible thing that he did. And they ignored that and still drafted him. By the way, Max and I hate racism. We think it is horrible. And we are truly sorry for anyone who has been racially abused or has seen anyone say racial slurs or said them toward you. Our heart truly goes out to you. This should never happen. And yeah, definitely. Black Lives Matter. And even what the NHL is doing, it's still saddening to see the Arizona Coyotes pick this person. He was so good. He's so good at hockey. He's a defender. He has a rough edge. In the Tri-City Storm, 44 games, 8 goals, 25 assists, 33 points. That's beautiful as a defenseman. He shoots right as a defenseman. He's 5'11", 194. He's a big boy. And even with there's no quote. There's no quote. Elite Prospects deleted the quote. All they have is stop bullying. That's how much he has affected the hockey world. He was drafted by the Arizona Coyotes in the 4th round. They traded away their first and their third, and they got their second pick this year and their first round pick next year taken from them by the NHL because they knew too much about the 2020 NHL draft class. You guys are idiots, literally. If the Arizona Coyotes lose followers, like any fans, like that they have anymore, they don't really have that many fans that show up at the Gila River Arena anyway. But like if anyone still shows up, why? If you don't know the story, like I wrote a 3-page paper on this for my school newspaper, by the way, join my high school newspaper. And I hope everyone learns about the story because with all this Black Lives Matter movement that's going on in the country, so many people are supportive of it. Like, and then this story happens and it ruins the whole thing. And the Arizona Coyotes were literally talking about like how their general manager or someone on their executive staff was on the anti-bullying committee in the NHL. And they picked this dumb person. Max, I hit all the notes. Like, I don't feel like
I do have a quote. I do have a quote actually about his playing ability. Miller showed a high level off the puck instincts, keeping his feet moving at all times, making himself available, anticipating, developing passing lanes. His sense of timing is a big plus at both ends of the ice. He's a good player, I'll be honest, but Arizona Coyotes wasted their pick. And, Arizona Coyotes aren't ready to win a cup, but with a first rounder next year, they probably could have had a chance, but they blew it. Of course, what Miller did, there's no excuse for that. I'm more mad at the Arizona Coyotes. They still have the video up on Twitter of, an intro to this pick. They haven't taken the video down of Mitchell Miller getting drafted by the Arizona Coyotes. It's still up there on Twitter right now.
Yeah.
I'm also mad at the USHL. The year after this incident happened, he was drafted 17th overall into the Junior League Futures draft. He had no.
I doubt you do combines in the USHL, so I doubt they really cared.
For
and
sure.
Also, and also, if you heard the story, like he was playing in Cedar Rapids, which is not in Ohio, which is where he's from. So like, I think from what I heard, from what I researched, he stopped when he moved to the USHL. He stopped bullying Isaiah Meyer Crothers, and that's it. I don't want to talk about him anymore. So I'm going to switch over to this next pick that the Arizona Coyotes made, another player from the USHL. 5th round, 142nd overall. His name is Carson Bantle. He's 18. And he was born January 22nd, 2002. He's a left wing, 6'4", 194 pounds. Wow, he's a tall one. And he played for the Madison Capitals of the USHL this past season. He played at Shattuck St. Mary's, one of the best, if not the best, programs in the world, honestly, for high school, for AAA hockey. And in his first season, 56 games, he put up 42 points, 19 of which were goals. And in his second season, he only put up 28 points in 52 games. That's a bit odd. Moved to Madison, Wisconsin to play for the Madison Capitals. 62 games, 10 goals, 10 assists, 20 points. And then next season, as assistant captain, 49 games, 20 goals, 29 assists for 49 points. But he was a minus 21 in plus minus. So I don't think his team did very well. He is at Michigan Tech this year. I don't exactly know much about college hockey, but I don't think the Michigan Tech is the best. Currently, 2 games, 0 goals, 0 assists, 0 points, 0 penalty minutes, and a -2. Cool. Nothing exactly. Wasn't at many tournaments. He's not going to be at the World Juniors, and yeah, that's basically it. There isn't much that we can talk about him. I don't think he's going to make the NHL. Max, your opinion?
I have a different opinion on this guy. I kind of like him. You know, most of the things you're going to hear about him were about him as a 16, 17-year-old when he was 5'11". He had a 5-inch growth spurt last year, which is, something a lot of hockey players would love. But he's got great dexterity and puck control. He sliced through United States National Development team defenders with pretty good ease. I think of this guy as a taller Sidney Crosby. Again, that's a push for a 142 overall player. But a little bit of a taller Sidney Crosby. His foot speed and hands, setting up dekes, crossovers, and mohawks. He's a really, really good player. His strength is also there, notable. So many NHL players comment on Sidney Crosby's, lower body strength, and this guy has something almost like that. He almost throws himself around players like they're not even there. For 142 overall pick, I do like this. I do like this pick. In terms of potential, again, the Arizona Coyotes aren't the best team in the National Hockey League. I do think he has a potential fourth line, if not a scratch, or first line in the AHL, somewhere around there. But I do think there's a chance he'll make the NHL.
I don't know. It's just depth. It's a Magic Beans. Honestly, from what I've heard, the team that drafts you affects 50% of your success. So it's great. You got drafted. What are you gonna do? Where are you gonna play? Okay. Are you gonna stay fit? Okay. Are you still gonna put up points that you put up before? Are you gonna improve, or are you gonna stay the same and basically be what you are and you're gonna be trash? Are you going to live up to the contract that we offer you if we ever offer you a contract? All that stuff, it's that's an if. That's just ifs. You can't really do much about that. So yeah, you kind of stole my quote, by the way, but it really doesn't matter. Because depth quotes aren't exactly interesting to me personally. The next pick, Philip Barklund, out of Sweden. He was born in Stockholm. He's a center / left wing, and he shoots left. He has a good push in his first steps and really accelerates over long distances. Elite Prospect says. Going farther down, he played with Orbo of the Swedish juniors, and he's tearing it up with his peers. He played 1 game in the SHL this season and goose eggs for every single stat there is. So it's the SHL. It's a men's league. You won't expect every 6th round pick, 173rd overall, by the way, to pan out in the SHL in his first game. So I don't exactly care about that. He tears it up with his peers, which is a promising sight for this player, because it's bad if you're not that good with with your own peers. It's not that bad if you're 18. He is 18. If you're bad playing against adults, like it's not that bad. You can get better. So I believe they made a pretty decent pick with this. And yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, there's nothing really crazy to say about this player. But I think the more interesting thing is right after they picked him, they traded away their seventh round next year, for 192nd overall pick, who we're going to get to next in the seventh round for the Devils. So they traded away a pick next year for a pick this year, which means they obviously saw something about the player we're about to talk about. But before we go to that, I think you hit it all. There's nothing crazy about this guy again. I think his skating and edge work is his best quality. He can play physical and engage in the puck battles to win the puck back, and which is pretty good for a forward. AHL or ECHL is where I'm looking at for this guy. I don't think there's really a chance of him making the NHL, especially for a team like Arizona, where you do have some pretty decent, bottom six forwards.
Yeah, I agree. And now this next pick, he's a right wing, shoots left. He's Elliot Ekefjord. If anyone Swedish is watching this video, please correct me. Like I'll literally give you my email so you can send a video recording. He's a depth pick. He's on loan of this league called Hockey Eton. I sure hope it's not a bad league. Four games played, 1 goal, 0 assists in that league. He played for Malmo Redhawks in the juniors, and like this past pick, Philip Barkland, he's around a point a game, 13 points in 14 games, 6 goals, 7 assists. With this team, not much to say. Even prospects doesn't have much to say about this guy. So I could to be honest, I could care less about these depth guys for now. There's nothing interesting. I doubt he's gonna make it to the NHL. That's basically it. If you have anything to say on him, you can say it, or we can just move on to this next person.
Not much, but an 18-year-old playing U20 is kind of big. And again, they did trade for this pick. You don't go through all that effort of trading for a pick to draft, a nobody. I think they see something in this guy. Maybe it's his work ethic off the ice or his maturity. I think it's going to be something like his character that they were interested in for this guy. I think he can make it to the AHL or ECHL at the very least. I don't think he's an NHL player. But, we'll see how he does in Sweden. He has 6 points so far playing U20 as an 18-year-old, which, again, it's nothing crazy. But, again, they see something in this guy that obviously we don't have the information about. Because we're not working for the NHL or the franchise, but we'll see what happens to this guy.
Yeah, definitely. You might as well take your shots. Just what are you going to lose with this guy? This pick Ben McCartney, out of the Brandon Wheat Kings of the WHL. It's a fine program. He's from McDonald, Manitoba, and he's 19. He's a left winger. Again, he has a lot of penalty minutes. He has 105 penalty minutes in 61 games, but he's at a point-a-game pace exactly. 25 goals, 36 assists, 61 points in the WHL, which is a pretty hard league, obviously. He's not representing World Juniors. He's not in any tournaments. There might be an outside shot that he might make a roster in the NHL, maybe really late in his career, but I doubt it. Could just go to Europe, could just be a minor player. I sort of like this pick just because he's at a point a game in the WHL and he's still available, which either something happened like the Mitchell Miller situation, hopefully nothing happened like in the Mitchell Miller situation, but maybe something happened, maybe he could just be a pain. To his coaches. Maybe his coaches just call him uncoachable. And a lot of teams just left him alone, but it's a fine pickup. Don't think he's going to amount to anything, but yeah, nothing happens with 7-round picks usually. If we're going to waste any more time, we can just talk about the Bruins right now.
All right, it'll be like a minute. When you're drafting in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, you want to either go for, in my opinion, a goalie, where you'll see a guy like Henrik Lundqvist, break out of nowhere, or a physical player. This guy fights for position, drives to the net with his body, not so much his hands and skating. So I do like this pick. It's probably one of my more favorite ones. As you said, WHL is a pretty tough league to play in, and he was a point per game about. He's an effective package for a hockey player. I do like this pick. It's probably one of my more favorite ones for the Coyotes. For a seventh round pick, this is going to take a do. ECHL, AHL, somewhere around there.
Yeah. And now we gotta talk about the Boston Bruins. Yeah. With the grand total of 4 players that they picked. Fun. At least they picked the second rounder. That's interesting. Haven't had one of those since we talked about the Anaheim Ducks almost like an hour ago, it feels like. Sm-Lliga from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You might as well throw that out there. The D, he shoots left, second round, 58th overall by the Boston Bruins. Played at Culver Military Academy. In his first season there, 46 games, 7 goals, 15 assists, 22 points. That's fine. Next season, 42 games, 4 goals, 23 assists, 27 points. That's even better. And then he played 9 games with the Green Bay Gamblers and goose eggs, 4 penalty minutes and a -1. Next season, 1920 with the Green Bay Gamblers. He had a fine season, 48 games, 8 goals, 29 assists, 37 points, 27 PIMs, and a +5. And this year he's an assistant captain of the Green Bay Gamblers. In 6 games, he has 8 points. He's going to be fine. I think he can be a perfect option for the Bruins. And he's committed to Ohio State next season, 21-22. A quote about him is, "Where Lacroix stood out was as a puck carrier. His puck skills are small. His puck skills and small. Our situation stuck out as a distinct positive in a few instances, particularly for someone of his stature. He's got a snappy wrist shot with good form and an ability to generate a lot of power with very little movement, suggestive of a really strong upper body," which is perfectly fine. A strong upper body is great. He is listed as 6'4", 201 pounds, which is really tall, by the way. The average is now like 5'11", 5'10", or something. So, Max, what do you think of him, and where do you think he's going to be?
I don't think I'm going to be more mad about a pick in today's episode than this one. I hate this pick. He's not a second-round guy. He probably could have gone – in being nice to him, he probably would have gone in the third round. Being, completely honest, I think he would have gone in the 5th round. I do not think they should have picked him second round. I think you could use a later pick on him. Now he is almost like he plays like a seasoned veteran. Like guys look up to him, guys like him. We could have used a later pick on this guy. Yeah, like I'm not in love with this pick. I do like that we picked a defenseman. He was second ranked defenseman and with points on this team, which I do like. But there are better defensemen that we could have picked. Now, Don Sweeney, who did win General Manager of the Year the year before this year, he did have a phone call with him, which was almost an hour long. So we obviously saw something in this guy. The Bruins are definitely struggling defensemen. We lost Torrey Krug this year. Good luck on the Blues, Torrey. But we don't have the best defenseman. We've got Char, who's pretty old. Other than McAvoy, we don't have any crazy good defensemen. I think he can come in maybe 3 years as a third or second pair, assuming we don't sign any in free agency or no one shows up big or we don't get any in trades. I think he'll be a second pair defenseman. I'm not saying he's going to be a great one, but I think he can make the NHL.
That's a nice comparison. I think it's going to be just fine for him. In terms of build, sort of like Zdeno Chara-esque. He's tall, although like obviously not as tall as Char. But he's tall, heavy, and he scores a lot. When Char was in his prime, which was like early to mid 2000s, he had like 40-point seasons. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen there. The next pick, Trevor Kuntar, out of the USHL again. The center, he's 6'0", 203 pounds, out of Williamsville, New York. He played with the Buffalo Junior Sabres 14U, 12 points in 15 games. And then in 16U, 27 points in 32 games. This third round pick, 89th overall with the Youngstown Phantoms, 2017-18, 43 games, 4 points, 2 goals, 2 assists. Next year, still with the Phantoms, 61 games, 19 goals, 17 assists, 36 points, 92 PIMs, by the way, and a -8 and plus-minus. And this year, with as an assistant captain, in 44 games, 28 goals, 25 assists, 53 points, above a point a game, 83 PIMs, and a -8. In Boston College, in the NCAA in the 2020-2021 season. In 2 games, he has 1 assist, perfectly normal. Hopefully he's good with academics. Boston College is a great college, should I mention. And yeah, I think he can be a perfectly normal option. And yeah, he's a top 10 scorer in the USHL last season. Wields a shot so heavy that he can beat goaltenders clean from just about anywhere in the offensive zone. That's pretty good. I think he could be depth probably for the Bruins, maybe even second line on occasion. Not first line, probably. Max, what do you think?
I love this pick. I'll be completely honest. Freshman at Boston College. He also grew up playing hockey in Boston tournaments. I love this pick. I absolutely love it. He's got the Boston experience. Who doesn't want to play hockey in Boston? Throws his weight around. He's a strong skater, power play specialist, great wrist shot. That sounds like a Bruin to me. He's got Boston in his blood. I think you couldn't have picked a better player than this with this pick. He's a very prototypical Bruin. He's the kind of guy like the Boston wants. He's a league power play specialist. And he drove his top line on his team, and pushed him. And he had really good scouting reports, as you mentioned. I like this pick. He was expected to go somewhere in the 5th round, but we picked him up here. I'm happy with this pick. In terms of potential, as Bergeron and Krejci get older and look towards retirement, I think he can come. I think he can come in right now as a 4th liner. But as Krejci and Bergeron retire, unfortunately, it seems is looking sooner every year. I think as you said, 2nd round. 1st round's a little bit of a push, but we'll see. We'll see how he does with Boston College. He's a freshman, and we'll see how he goes over the next 3-4 years.
Nice. I like that pick too. I think it's good. The next one, Mason Langenbrunner. And if you know that last name, it's because his father is, I believe, Hall of Famer Jamie Langenbrunner. I know Jamie Langenbrunner, he played, but I don't think he was in the Hall of Fame, or he might be actually. 5th round, 151st overall by the Boston Bruins. Played a bunch of high school hockey. Was never above a point a game, but as a right-handed shot defenseman, his best season is in Minnesota, Eden Prairie High, 19 points in 25 games, 5 goals, 14 assists. Doesn't take that many penalties. The Sioux City Musketeers this year, 3 games, goose eggs, 2 penalty minutes, and a +2. And in Harvard University, he's going to be playing there in 2021-22. Not really an outside shot at this guy, but could happen. Probably AHL, solid AHL player. Yeah, that's what I think. Max, you?
All right, I like this pick. I like this pick again. He already has some roots with the Bruins, actually. His father is currently the player development coordinator for the Bruins, which I think is pretty cool, now that he's also on Boston. He was his 3rd draft selection by the Bruins. He was the highest ranking by NHL Central Scouting, coming in at number 131. Extremely young. He's born in September of 02, which is very young. He pretty good in high school. A little bit of a bigger guy. He's very creative offensively, though. And a little bit of a backstory. Troy Krug went undrafted and worked his way into the NHL. The AHL head coach took a chance on him. So after going undrafted, he found his way into the AHL lineup, worked his way up, played really well. Now he's top 25 NHL defenseman. Because the AHL head coach took a chance on him. And, he's got some roots with the Bruins. And I think this guy could possibly work himself into the NHL, maybe third pair. I think he's better than ECHL. I think he could be a top 4 defenseman in the AHL, at
Yeah,
the least.
yeah, I agree. He might be pretty good. This next pick, the last player we'll be talking about today, is Riley Duran. He's from Boston, Massachusetts. 6'2", buck 85 pounds. He's a center that shoots right. Played at a bunch of high schools. He played in 2018, 2019. He played one game with the Youngstown Phantoms. Goose Eggs, 2 penalty minutes and -1. Okay, and this season he played with Cape Cod Whalers 18U team. He wasn't great. And then he switched to U.S. high school prep at Lawrence Academy, an assistant captain. 44 points in 27 games, 22 goals, and 22 assists. Doesn't show penalty minutes or plus-minus for some reason, but whatever. This season, in 3 games with the Youngstown Phantoms, nothing, 4 penalty minutes and -3. And he's going to be playing at Providence College in the following season. So, Max, your opinion, I don't really have one. I don't think he's going to be that. He's going to be terribly good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with what you said. I don't think he's going to be a crazy good player or anything. Like NHL superstar, of course. But I do like this pick. They picked 3 out of 4 guys. 3 out of their 4 picks have experience playing hockey in Boston, and all 4 of them sound like a Boston player. Physical, a little bit on the bigger side. They didn't pick any guys under 6 feet. He's a power forward, but he's drafted more for an intimidation factor than like top end speed or top end hands or top end shot. He's a guy that's going to drive to the crease and look for goals. And when you right now, when you look at a guy like Jake DeBrusk on Boston, who's known for his shot and big rebounds and driving to the net, that's how Boston scores a lot of their goals. That's why they're such a good team. When you look at some struggling teams like the Red Wings, you got guys like Dylan Larkin and Dylan Larkin take these awesome shots, but there's no one there for rebounds. When you look at Boston, you got guys like Bergeron, Marchand, who all go right to the crease for Pastrnak speeds. So I really like this pick for Boston. Again, I don't see him making the NHL. I think AHL is by far like a good comparison.
Yeah.
Potential.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So anyway, that wraps this up. Next week we'll be making another video just like this, and we will be discussing the next 3 teams. We'll probably squish this video, or we'll probably make the next video shorter just because this one's close to an hour. I'll have fun editing this, and please like and subscribe to this video, and subscribe to the channel. Sorry. And hope you enjoy, and have a good one, guys.